Hello, brick sculptors, and welcome back to Brick Sculpt. This is Chris, and today we're going to talk about coffee. That's right, this is coffee tips, tricks, and techniques. If you watch my channel, you know I just got partially finished with a coffee house build that I'm putting in my Lego City, and I've been playing around a lot with coffee tips, tricks, and techniques. So I decided, let's make a video on it. Funny thing is, I'm not really into coffee. It's not something that I really ever got into. For whatever reason, so I don't really drink coffee, but I am very observant and I have an internet full of pictures of things I can look up, and I think you will like some of these tips, tricks, and techniques for building your own coffee related things in your Lego cities. Let's go ahead and get started here. First of all, we're going to need to talk about different types of coffee cups. Of course, we have the classic Lego coffee cup. These ones with the logos on them are super cool. I love those for my coffee shop. Now you also have the more teacup style, which also works really well for coffee. You've got the Lego Coffee To Go cup. When I discovered these, I had to buy them, and such a good looking piece for anything coffee related. Now this is definitely a little bit more hot chocolate looking, but what an awesome Lego piece. Got that dual mold with the brown down inside of the clear cup. Very nice detail piece. And let's say we wanted to make a little shot of espresso. We can simply take a dark brown 1x1 round and a clear tile 1x1 round, stick them together, and it looks like a glass with just a tiny little bit of dark brown liquid in the bottom. Makes for a very nice espresso shot. One other cool little tip, if you didn't know, these ice cream pieces also look like whipped cream, and they fit perfectly into the top of the hot chocolate type cup. So those look really nice together, and definitely something I'm going to be using in my city here. Now we have our coffee. We need to talk about the things that go in it. So obviously we can do a sugar bowl. Just take a bowl. I like using the glitter pieces for this because they've got some sparkle to them. Put that in the bowl. That's pretty cool. You can maybe do a bag of sugar. I don't have a lot of these wedge pieces, but they work really well for the top of a paper bag. Obviously, you got your milk, maybe some cream, and there's a whole other assortment of things that you could include in your coffee. So just great ways to add detail to your coffee shops or at-home coffee setup in a Lego MOC. All right, so we've got coffee cups, we've got coffee additives. Now we need coffee. Let's say you're doing a retail store and you want to put some bagged coffee. A really nice way to make coffee bags, just cheese slopes and 1x1 plates. These wedge pieces do work better, but they're super rare, don't come in a lot of colors, and cheese slopes everyone has. So I think this is kind of the best way to do paper bags of coffee. And of course you can vary the color however you want to indicate different brands or flavors or whatever you want to put in them. Now any good coffee shop has to have baked goods, and I got a little bit of crap because in my last video doing my coffee shop, I didn't have room for my baked goods case. I still got to work that one out, but I did make a baked goods case even better for this video, and this is actually quite challenging to do. To be able to squeeze that much stuff into a 2x6 windshield is very tricky, and some of it hangs out the back, and you have to use quite a bunch of different techniques there to get that centered in there just perfectly and make sure it doesn't hit the front. I think it turned out pretty nice. Got some donuts, cookies, and some maybe cupcakes or other pastries in there. Now if you're doing larger pastries, you might need them just kind of out on a table like this, and if you're going to do that, you could definitely add a little what we might call a sneeze glass, and this is kind of an illegal technique, but it looks really good and works well. If you use this portion of the antenna piece and stick them down. Also, every video I do, somebody asks, how can a Lego technique be illegal? Well, it's just a slang term for techniques that are technically not allowed. Lego would never do them. They cause extra stress on the pieces, etc., etc. It's not actually illegal. unless you talk to the Lego police. But once you do that, you can fit a glass piece right in here. They fit in actually like perfectly into that antenna piece, and you can make a nice little sneeze glass for your baked goods there. I played around with taller and shorter. These are kind of tall, but the shorter ones are a little too short, so I think I like those the best. All right, next up, we're going to need coffee makers, and there's obviously a wide variety of different coffee makers out there. Let's start with something real simple. Just a standard drip pot like you'd have at your house. Now, the way I like to do coffee pots, I take a clear minifig head and one of these bar pieces with stud on it and go like this. Now, I know there is a piece where they have this that curves down. I don't know if it'll fit on here. They're incredibly rare. They're kind of expensive, and I just use this because I think it looks good enough. So that's how I make my coffee pots. For a drip coffee maker, I like to start like this. 2x2 base. On the front, I do a 1x2 jumper, usually in a different color to indicate that's kind of the heating element. On the back, I do a panel. That'll allow my coffee pot to fit in here without touching. 1x2 plate on there, and then one of these sloped pieces, 2x2 right on top, and that's where the coffee would drip from. We'll put our coffee pot right underneath there, and there we have it. We have a drip coffee maker. Now, another cool thing you can do with coffee cups is you can make them look like they're hanging under a cabinet. And all I did for this was add a snot piece in here, stick my coffee cups up on here, and just can imagine that they're hanging beneath that cabinet. I think that turned out pretty cool. And then I left a space here. We can just set our coffee maker right up on the counter, and this would be more like an at-home coffee setup in your kitchen. I think it looks nice. Sorry about my thumb, by the way. I smashed that with a wrench today at work. If you're ever wondering why my hands always look like this, I'm a bike mechanic. It's part of my job, and it's busy season, so my hands are always a mess, and they're often getting injured. Anyway, let's say we want to go a little bit fancier and make an espresso machine. We can do so like such. Couple of headlight bricks here. I've got a 1x2 tile on the front, 1x2 grate on the headlight side. On the back, I use a combination of plates with one of these snot pieces, just like that. This is going to go underneath. Up top, I use some of these D-snot pieces with these handles as kind of the coffee holders. On the front of the D-snots, I have a keypad on one, a dial on the other, and those are just going to stick right on the front here. Now, I know you probably couldn't fit a cup under here, but trust me, for detail's sake, it works better to kind of squish it down. Otherwise, it's going to look ridiculously tall. On top, I just use a slope, and there's kind of your at-home espresso maker. Now, if you're going to do an espresso maker, you're also going to need a grinder. So for that, I take one of these small cone pieces, 1x1 round brick in trans clear, and just a 1x1 round plate on top. And there we have a coffee grinder. Now for this kitchen, I did the same technique hanging cups, but when you use the teacup style, they won't stick next to each other because they're wider than one brick width. So what I had to do here was alter snot pieces where I had the standard 1x1 snot right there, and then this 1x2 snot kind of jumper snot there, so it can only fit 3 cups, but they're very nicely spaced, and I think they look excellent like that, hanging underneath that cabinet. And then we can put our espresso machine on the counter and our grinder right next to it. Now, another type of coffee maker you can make would be kind of a single serve coffee maker, like a Keurig or something like that. The way I do that, I take a 1x2 base. I take a grate piece, put it down there. It's actually going to go this way, not this way. And then on the side, 1x2 plate, 1x1 round brick in trans clear, one of these curved tiles on top. And that's going to stick on one side. That's going to be the water tank for the coffee maker. On the other side, I take a 1x2 brick, 1x1 tile on top, and a 1x1 plate on top. That's going to go right behind. This portion's not going to stick down, but will allow us to make a 1x1 grate in the front. And up on the very top here, just a 1x2 slope to hang over and drip our coffee. So you could put a coffee cup in there and fill it up single serve style. Now these you could definitely find at home, but you also might find this in a business, like a waiting area or a cafeteria in a business. So let's go ahead and make this look like something you would have set out for customers to enjoy. We'll put a wall back here. Got a table here with some treats on it, and then like just some cheese slopes here to look like maybe sugar packets or napkins or different things that you would use with your coffee. And I have some flowers up there. Now if you're going to do this, you're going to also want to set out cups. And another way I like to do coffee cups is just like this. Take a stack of 1x1 round plates and just put a 1x1 round tile on top, and they look like disposable cups stacked nicely. Put that right next to your coffee maker, and that would work really well in a business. I have a very similar setup to this in my bank mock that is in my city. Last but not least, we need commercial coffee makers. Now I made a few extra coffee pots here, and then I did my commercial drip coffee maker. Now the drip coffee maker, the way I do that, I use these faucet pieces for table legs. They work really well for that. So I've just got a 1x2 plate rounded with 2 faucets on it. That's going to stick under one side. I've got another one, same thing for the other. Those 2 faucets come together and look like the legs are joined, which looks really nice. Here I've got a 2x3 plate, a panel up the back, a couple of these grooved bricks there to look like vents, jumper plate on the front. Up top, we're going to use one of these snot pieces with some gauges on the front, couple of plates, and a 2x2 jumper on top, 1x2 jumper in the front. That's just going to stick on top there. And the way that these work is you're going to have a coffee pot down here. That's the one that gets filled from the machine. And up top they have warmers. So you might have a pot of decaf and a pot of regular and one brewing. They often have 2 warmers on top. Some only have 1 warmer on top. But that way you can have multiple coffee pots staying warm with one utensil. So that's our commercial drip coffee maker. And of course we need a commercial espresso machine. So the way I made that, 4 headlight bricks, 2 vents, 1x4 tile on the front. That's going to be our base. The back wall of it is going to be a couple of these half plate, half tile pieces, 1x4 plate on the back, 2 of these snot pieces facing upward. We're going to stick our headlight bricks right on there. This portion here, we have this large strip of gauges, which I think came off of a fire truck, but it looks really good for an espresso machine. 2 of these coffee holders, I don't know what they're called, but again, I'm not a coffee guy. A couple of D-snot pieces, some 1x1 plates there just to space this out. That's going to fit here. Again, espresso cup will not fit under that, but again, for detail, it's better to have this shorter. Otherwise, it's just going to look bad if you have it too tall, at least in my opinion. Couple of plates on top. If you have a 2x4 plate, it would look better, but I didn't have that in dark red. And I really want to stick with the dark red. A lot of these are dark red, or they're just black and silver. I think that looks really good for a commercial espresso machine. I'll make kind of a commercial table here too. I'm going to put this on these 2 jumpers. Like that. And then of course we got to have our grinder. Now with a commercial espresso machine, you'll often have a very large grinder that you can fit like a whole bag of coffee in. And for the coffee, I just put some 1x1 round tiles in there in dark brown. Dark brown's like the perfect coffee color. And you can stick that right next to it there. So we got our coffee grinder, we got our espresso machine, and then next to it we can have our drip coffee. A lot of restaurants and coffee shops will serve both. Let's go ahead and put our wall back here. I think that looks pretty good. Now, one thing I was trying to do for this video that didn't work out, but I wanted to show you guys because maybe you guys have a better way to do this. I really wanted to make a barrel of coffee. And so I took a barrel and I was like, okay, what can I put in there that looked like coffee? And the first thing that came to mind was hair, Lego hair. You know, you take a Lego hair piece, it could look like a lot of small things in there. Well, that one's too big. And I actually had this piece in mind first, which almost looks like coal. Way too big, doesn't fit in there. I did find this one that's a bit smaller, but still kind of looks like a head in a barrel. And then I found this flat top one, which also didn't fit in there. So I thought, well, maybe I could try a different receptacle. I did one of these crates, and some of these fit pretty well. Like that looks okay, but it does look like a head in a barrel. This one doesn't really fit. It looks like coal overflowing out of a barrel. It doesn't look like coffee beans, and it's the wrong color. I was just experimenting here. I definitely would do this in dark brown, not black. This flat top piece, though, does look pretty good in here. In black, it looks like a bunch of burnt coffee. But that in dark brown would look pretty cool if you're trying to put this in like a grocery store or a place that just had a whole barrel of beans that you could scoop from. The funny thing is the best looking one is the trash can. So you could put your burnt coffee in the trash can. But the size just fits so much better. Unfortunately, it's a trash can, and I'm not going to display coffee beans in a trash can. But that size was right. So if you can think of a hair piece that works better for this or a receptacle that works better, let me know. I really want to work on that idea because it'd be really cool to have a barrel full of coffee beans sitting in the coffee shop. All right, well, I hope you guys liked this video. I hope you guys saw some things here that you could use in your own Lego cities and mocks. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask below. I'll do my best to answer them. If you like this video, please like and subscribe. I'm going to do more just like this in the future. That's all I have for this time, and we will see you next time.